This is PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. PopX is not affiliated with, nor endorsed by Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, DC Comics, or any other mentioned franchise or brand. The opinions expressed are of each individual, and solely do not reflect PopXcast. Sit back, relax, put on your Ninja Turtle onesie, and warm up your chimichangas. This is PopXcast. You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. PopXcast. PopXcast. All right, everybody, welcome to PopXcast. And hey, Dan, what's going on in your world, man?
Nothing much. Just working all day long, and had a pretty uneventful week. But other than that, everything has been pretty good. How about you?
I can't complain for an old man.
Yeah.
We had a really awesome. If you guys didn't catch last week's podcast about the old school vintage video game consoles and everything like that, you guys need to definitely check it out because it's right up your video game retro bliss alley. We know you guys are going to enjoy it. And if you haven't caught the replay, be sure to head over to iTunes, click on subscribe, and make sure you're listening, okay? But we want to thank everybody for listening right now. And, Dan, we still got that contest going on, don't we?
Yeah, we do. The contest where everybody who goes to iTunes and downloads our stuff to listen to leaves us a 5-star rating, which would be great. Also, maybe you should say something nice about either one of us. Me preferably, but
I digress. Oh yeah,
just kidding. But anyway, yes, and you will be able to win yourself a piece of artwork chosen by yours truly here, Joseph Burke, and the picture of the Joker played by Cesar Romero.
That's pretty awesome. And a $10 Steam gift card that Dan will throw it out. Yes, Dan the man is offering that. But leave us a 5-star rating over on iTunes and, drop us something nice about us, and we'll be sure to fill you in. But we have a really special guest for you guys this week, and we are so thankful to have him on board. He's calling us all the way from his landline. He's calling from New York. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Mr. Russ Braun on here. What's going on, Russ?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
What is up?
All right. Keeping busy. I just want you to know, I can't hear Dan. I can only hear you.
Yeah,
so.
I know. We're trying to we're trying to work through that part. I know it's kind of a weird thing where we're calling through a landline. We do apologize for that, but
not a problem.
Yeah, but
what was that?
I think it's all right. You good to go, Dan?
I'm just saying, if Dan has a question, he'll have to ask it through you, so I can't hear him at all.
Okay, I got you. So just want to double check right quick. Okay, so right out of the gate, Russ, I want to thank you so much for coming on board and you're just taking the time out. I know you guys you're especially busy. You've been drawing like mad crazy. You got so many projects going on. Right out of the gate, what inspired you to become an artist, particularly a comic book artist?
Well, easy answer is comic books. I mean, as a little kid growing up in Queens, I was a big fan of Marvel comics, Spider-Man specifically, and but it started because of the cartoon, the TV cartoon. So the old Ralph Bakshi 67 one. So saw that and decided I wanted to look at comic books, and that was it. Love at first sight. I ended up being a huge comic fan and did that, and always started drawing from an early age, and carried me right up through high school and into college.
Wow. So when did you attend school to become an illustrator? Like, where did you start? Where did you go to get all the training and the expertise?
Yeah, well, I was always drawing anyway, but I decided I wanted to do it for a career, and wanted to go to an art college. So I decided on SVA, School of Visual Arts in Manhattan.
Wow. And
to get in there, you had to have a written recommendation from somebody, from an artist, an art teacher or somebody. So my family casually knew an editor at DC named Joe Orlando, classic comic artist, guy who worked on like first issue of Mad, and he was a partner with Wally Wood. They did a bunch of artwork together, EC Comics, all that stuff. Great guy. And I went to see him to show him my work and get a recommendation written by him for SVA. And so he liked my work and said, when you get to SVA, take my class, and I'll see you there. And so it worked out great. And I ended up taking his class. And after I took it 2 different semesters. And the second time he said, listen, when you get out of school, come up and we'll see if we can get you some work up at DC. And that was how I got my start, really.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so, like, your first project, and you got your recommendation, you got everything you needed, you went through school, and you've got and you learned the process and all that. And your first project right out of the gate was one called the Ford Fairlane. Now, so can you elaborate a little bit on that and what your involvement was with that project?
Sure. Ford Fairlane was an Andrew Dice Clay movie, big starring vehicle for him. And he was really hot then, stand-up comic, and had a lot of talent to do impressions, and was going to be a big movie star. So they decided to do a 4-issue miniseries of the Ford Fairlane comic as a prequel to the movie. Mm-hmm. So I got on board to be like they called it a stylist. Basically, I was going to do the research, come up with the characters, do like a style guide for the artist who was already assigned to the book. So I went up to the movie offices and looked at movie stills and designed the cars and the sets and the environments. They wanted to do it in like the disco era, so it was like late 70s type stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got to create all the characters. It was fun. And they liked my drawings that I did different scenes so much that they ended up using them for the covers of the books. And those were all just like really dark pencil drawings. So they colored my pencil drawings. They didn't look great, but they were, official covers on a comic book. So it was really cool. What happened though is that after the second issue, the regular artist in the book had other commitments and had to leave. So we left them kind of high and dry in the middle of it. And we had ended up with about 3 weeks to get the third book out. And so Joe Orlando, my editor, was like, every time he'd ask me, he's like, hey, so you want to give that a try? I was like, okay, sure, Joe, I'll give it a try. And he said, so you want a pencil? And I said, all right, I'll give it a try. But I didn't know anything about storytelling really much aside from being a comic fan. So I was uncomfortable with that, and especially with the time frame. So he called in, of all people, Carmine Infantino, who is just, a legend in comics. And Carmine did rough layouts, and I did the finished pencils over his rough layouts. So he really kind of thumbnailed everything out, and then right on the boards, drew everything rough and loose, and I tightened it up. So then it went on to two inkers to fill the time. We needed 2 different inkers because we had to do 32 pages in like 2 weeks. Wow. And so it was Don Heck and Frank Springer, who are also legends in comics. So it was a really, getting thrown into the fire to learn, but learning from some of the best in the field and like, literal comic legends and heroes of mine. So it was an exciting way to get started. Not the greatest project. I mean, none of us would say that, it was the greatest storyline in the world, but it was fun. It was really fun stuff. So I don't know too many people who actually read it, but I doubt it'll ever be reprinted, but still, it was a fun way to start.
Well, hey, we all have to have a start somewhere, and it was probably a good way for you to get your foot in the door, and which kind of led to your DC work coming up, and with the Dark Knight Venom series, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right out of Fort Fairlane, I ended up meeting a bunch of different editors up there. Yeah. Joe Orlando actually was kind of championing me around the offices, saying, "Look at this guy's stuff and see if you can get him any work." And I met a bunch of different editors, and I did a Justice League, a couple of small things, and then the next thing was Batman Venom, which was just a great story to be a part of.
And for those fans out there that have no idea what Venom is in the DC world and how it affects Batman, actually, this is the series that Russ had drawn that depicted Batman addicted to a drug called Venom, and basically shows how his life, after he fails to save a little girl's life, everything just kind of spirals out of control. And as we all know, if you're into comic books in any shape or form, you know that the Venom is the drug that was used later by Bane, and we all know how that turned out for Batman. So,
sure.
But what challenges did you face in illustrating and portrayal of Batman that has never been attempted before? Him being addicted to a substance.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that was whatever's in the script is what you got to do. That was the way that the book got done, though. Is again, I was still pretty green, pretty new. So I started drawing the book myself, and really wasn't happy with the way it was coming out. So I said maybe we can get Carmine to do layouts again, and I'll do the finishes over those because I was just not confident in that. But the editor said, well, let's just get a really great inker, and we're not going to worry about it. But instead, we ended up Trevor Von Eeden did the layouts for the Batman stuff. He did just like working with Carmine, he did like a rough, loose take on everything that I ended up finishing up on. I did a lot of my own stuff involved on that too, but the real learning process was what the inker brought to it, and the inker was a real legend in comics, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And when I could see what Jose did on top of what I gave him, it was amazing. It was a way to really learn how to do the comic book properly. You know, I learned more storytelling tricks and tips from him than anybody else. And I only met him a few times in person up at the studios. We used to go there to the offices, and I met with him 3 or 4 times in the first couple of months doing it. And it was just, he was so generous with his time and so really helpful to me. So that was the best learning experience you could ever ask for in comics. But specifically to do Batman in that kind of mode, that drugged out mode, that was the exciting part of it. And with three different artists putting their own take onto it. So in fact, a couple of times there was one rough layout that I got from Trevor that when we looked at it with the editor, we decided it wasn't extreme enough, and it was when it's a flashback to Batman detoxing in the Batcave, and so I did an even crazier version of it, and then Jose inked it just phenomenally. So it was a really dark kind of tone for Batman, and I was inspired by like the Mazzucchelli year one Batman. That was like what I kind of wanted to do, but Jose made it more of a classic 70s Batman look, and it all ended up working perfectly. I thought it looked really great. I was really proud to be a part of it.
Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard a term when you were describing all of this stuff, that there was a term in there that you used is called incidental detail. And can you tell us what that is and how it works in comics?
Well, it's a funny thing that really is one little note that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez gave me. Was when we were drawing, I would draw a scene. You get the perspective right, you get the foreshortening right, but to really bring it to life, you have to make the settings and everything feel lived in. So that even though it's just like a throwaway scene, there's a scene in Venom where there are these 2 thugs and they live in this hotel, and Batman confronts them there. Little incidental details that Jose threw in and told me about and used that term. Were like there were beer cans on the floor, with a calendar on the wall, magazines, and like specific stuff that that these 2 guys would have. Because you don't want it to be like in a video game where you just turn the corner and there's these characters just standing there, and they've just been standing there for a lifetime. These guys lived in that apartment for as long as they did, so you had to make it believable. So it's stuff like that. It's like looking around the room, set dressing like you have in a movie to make it believable that these characters live there. So it sounds like not a really important thing, but it's really informed everything that I do in comics as far as even a character in the background of the scene. He's got to be reacting properly to what's going on, even if he's not like the main focus of the scene. So that's an incidental detail that if it's not there, you might not notice it right away, but if it's done wrong, you'll notice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And so incidental detail is those little minute things, like when you're drawing a cityscape or you're drawing a living room scene or something like that. It's those little minute things that just make it pop and seem real.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want things to be, realistic. You want to suspend disbelief as much as possible, So you've got, guys in tights flying around the city. But if the city doesn't feel real, they won't feel as special. You know what I mean? It won't feel like a really amazing thing to see Superman flying around Metropolis. If Metropolis is as, kind of fanciful and sci-fi as he is, you got to have like some really real people on the street. And that's like an incidental detail to a Superman kind of pose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my co-host Daniel has a question here he's going to ask. So,
how many scenes?
So we're going to ask you, and then you can ask me.
Yeah.
We'll relay it. It'll work. So how many scenes have you created that have been just tossed away into the abyss, never to be seen again? Like, how many comic book strips have you drawn that were rejected?
Oh, you mean like a page from an actual scripted book that they've said, we don't want this for me?
Yeah.
Very few times that's happened. I mean, that's the idea about you're as professional as you possibly can be. So the idea is, you're really just, everything you do is living up to the story. So you're a slave to the story in a way, but I try and make sure that there's never, that never happens, because otherwise it's a waste of time. You have so little time to get a comic book done, depending on the deadlines. You usually get about a month to get your section of the comic book done as the artist, Yeah. So, it's very rare that I have something that is flat out rejected, or I've redone pages here and there, or redone panels. But early on, I used to, before using a lot of computers, if I didn't like a panel on a page, you had the whole page drawn out, and just one panel was bothering me. I used to cut it out, draw the panel over again on a different piece of paper, and then tape it back in the back. So, but yeah, very rarely would a page just go and be flat out rejected by the editor or the writer. So just lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I got you. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and so that leads me up to another question I have for you. What was the first in your own like perspective? What was the first notable project that you worked on early in your career? What was something that you could say, this was a definitive turning point for me?
Oh, well, obviously Batman, I think. I mean, that had to be the one where I felt like this is the big time, So, and again, like I said, learning from Jose was that was the moment where that kind of the light bulb went on. And kind of was like, this is going to be like my full-time career, So definitely Batman. And I mean, to this day, it's still one of my favorite projects I ever worked on. But it was an honor to be a part of it. And it's Batman, So
he is the Dark Knight. So that's that. I mean, that being able to work on that professionally in a mainstream format, I just could not imagine. I would probably squeal. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Matt, I was lucky because I was so young that I didn't know. I couldn't. When you're that young, you're kind of like, let's take on anything. I mean, a few years after that, I probably would have had doubts about like, oh, should I be doing this? What if I screw it up, kind of thing. But at that point, it's like, what the hell? I'm going to go. So.
Okay. I think we got another one from Dan here, so he's going to ask. I'll relay it.
All right.
So, is Batman your favorite character to draw? And if it's not Batman, who is your favorite character to draw?
No, Batman's definitely not my favorite. I like drawing Batman. I guess I'd have to say maybe Butcher from The Boys. He was always fun. I just kind of identified with him pretty easily. So took a while to get used to him, but once I started getting used to and got used to him, I felt like, all right, I'm in on the joke with Butcher. But maybe the second would be another recent character, the Carl Kaufman from Real Monsters Dwell. It was a lot of fun to draw. I kind of made him look like Bruce Campbell a little bit, and so that was a lot of fun. But,
Bruce Campbell.
I can see that.
Say hello to my boomstick, huh?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'd say either one of those is probably.
That's awesome. I've been following a little bit of your stuff on The Boys, but before we go there, you spent some time at Disney Animation Studios. What projects did you work on there? What were you involved with?
Yeah, I took a break from comics in the mid '90s. Well, comics took a break from me, either way you want to put it. But I was working on a project that for a division of DC that ended up going under, so there was no more funding. So I said, all right, well, I need to make a change. I went down to Disney. I'd done an internship for them, and I ended up working cleanup animation. I wanted to do story, but there wasn't any story department in Florida. So I ended up working on everything from Mulan to Tarzan to Emperor's New Groove, Lilo and Stitch, which was probably my favorite between that and Mulan, and then Brother Bear. And then they closed the studio down, and I left from there in 2004. Came back up here to comics. So,
wow.
But doing so, go ahead.
I was just going to say I've actually purposely watched Milan and Hercules, and I've seen your name in the credits. So I was like, oh, I know that dude. I know who he is.
Oh yeah.
But so now you were talking earlier about Butcher and The Boys and some of your newer stuff that you're involved with. What is it like to get in the mindset and the psyche of such a character like Butcher? How do you get yourself in that mode to be able to draw these panels?
Yeah, well, being in Butcher's head is a pretty dark space, actually. But myself, I like to get into the characters. Like I kind of I joke about it, but when you're drawing comics, you're kind of like the actor, So I think of the writer as the director and the screenwriter, and then you're kind of like the actor, set dresser, scene artist, whatever you want to call it. But, so I have to get into the mindset of whatever the character's doing, and just again working with Garth, who I've known for a long time. We were friends, so we ended up with a pretty decent rapport working together. But yeah, I have to kind of think what he's doing. Garth's pretty descriptive about what he wants. He didn't go into excessive detail, so it's perfect. He gives me a little room to to breathe and to bring something to it. But yeah, it's really just kind of like thinking about motivations aside from just what the character's doing in that scene. Think about how did he get there and where is he going to go from here. So the other thing that helps is that usually working with Garth, I ended up with a pile of scripts ahead of time. So I mean, by the time I was drawing the last issue of The Boys, by the time I was drawing maybe the 10th to last issue of The Boys, I had the whole thing in front of me, so I even knew how it was going to end up.
Wow.
So it was like a year before I was finished, Garth was finished. So he had the scripts all done and all in, and it was just a matter of whether or not I was going to do them. I never knew from book to book whether I was going to be doing the next arc or not. So because I was just filling in on The Boys, that was Derek's book. Yeah. And but he had some of the other commitments that he ended up just coming back to do the last issue. And I did everything really leading up to that. So I got to draw all the really climatic stuff, and it was great. It was a definite highlight for me in working in comics and just drawing The Boys.
I get you, and I was actually I've had the pleasure and privilege, thanks to one of my best friends, Mike Ippolito, who we both know, to connect with you through Facebook. And you post these things every day on Facebook, and it's so inspiring. And I noticed that your body of work, you draw so fluidly, almost everything from like T-Rexes to animals to cars to whatever. What do you do to keep your skills fresh And how do you add new spin on your elements that you're drawing? How do you add like a new flavor?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, and Facebook actually is one thing that I use to help me keep fresh because it's like, other than drawing comics all the time, you really just have to be available to draw anything. You have to really be ready to draw anything, depending on whatever the writer says goes. So if you can't draw it, you're in trouble. It's easier now to find reference than ever before. I prefer to draw it in my head, but there are things like, let's say cars. That's if you make up a car, people are going to know that it's a made up car. So it's better to reference that. T-Rex, I did a bunch of reference for T-Rex. So I went to the Museum of Natural History. I looked over the skeletons and stuff like that. Then at the point, you have to make it up because you just get the basic idea of what it is. Then you have to kind of make it up. Otherwise, it looks like a statue, So you try and bring life to whatever you're drawing. Is basically what it is. And aside from whatever I'm told to draw in the scripts, then I do my own stuff for Facebook. Keeps me fresh, just by doing likenesses here and there for fun, and whatever else I feel like drawing. I do it for an image of the day for the next morning. So really just drawing all the time.
I have to say your Frankenberry one that you drew for Halloween. Oh my God, dude! I was so cracking up over that because all of us know Frankenberry is the famous like cereal, and he's such like a wimpy character on the box, but you drew him as like this big, it's so cool.
Yeah, he's my Hulk, so he's the Hulk.
That's Frankenberry as you've never seen him before. He's pretty awesome.
I was gonna say he looks like great.
I started drawing that because for whatever reason I started drawing Frankenstein every Friday as a joke. I call it Frankenstein Friday because like Facebook has all these different things, Throwback Thursday and stuff, and I didn't know any of them when I started. So I said, oh look, it's Frankenstein Friday, and I'm like, isn't that a thing? And then people said it should be. So I just kind of kept doing it as a joke. And the next thing I knew, I've drawn the Frankenstein every Friday for like the last almost 2 years now. And you run out of pictures of the Boris Karloff Frankenstein to really draw. So I started thinking, what else can I do? And I did like Frankenstein Jr. from cartoons and Groovy Gooey's Frankenstein. And I ended up doing Frankenberry and really had fun drawing it. So I ended up drawing all the different monster serial characters as like comic characters.
I love it, dude. I love the classic. Yeah. I love the classic horror movie monsters, whether it's Frankenstein or the Wolfman or Dracula or the creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, you just can't stray away from the classics, those cult classics. And you had hinted at this a little earlier in our interview that you've recently done a project for Marvel. It's called Where Monsters Dwell, and we were on the topic of monsters already. And this was kind of a mini series that's filled with journey, adventure, and even some of the dinosaurs, T-Rexes and stuff. Can you share a little bit about this project for those who aren't familiar with it? Where Monsters Dwell?
Oh, sure. Again, Garth illustrated, and it's just such a great, fun story. It's kind of like almost like an Indiana Jones type story, but if Indiana Jones was a complete jerk. And so it's the Phantom Eagle, who's an actual Marvel character from they made him up in the '60s, Herb Trimpe and Gary Friedrich, and he used to be like a World War I flying ace in like a superhero costume. So Garth has a different take on him, where he's kind of like this smuggler kind of. He's out of the war. It's the 20s now for Where Monsters Dwell, and so Carl Kaufman, the Phantom Eagle, is just this guy living by his wits, trying to get by in the South Pacific, really. He picks up a passenger and escapes some other people who are coming after him. They fly into a storm and they end up in the land of the dinosaurs. It was part of the Secret Wars, kind of distantly, tangentially. We just had fun. It was just a really fun, crazy story. Garth loves biplanes and dinosaurs, and so let's do biplanes and dinosaurs. He loves sharks, so he said, let's do giant sharks. So every time he had something he felt like doing, he threw it in the story.
And that was a 5-part miniseries, right, Russ?
Yeah, 5-part miniseries from Marvel. They collected it. It came out, I think, around Christmas last year as a collected edition. And it was just, for me, probably the most fun I've had in comics to date. To do that story. It's just a lot of real fun acting, a lot of real crazy, dinosaur stuff going on. There's, velociraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rex and Megalodon and these crazy little pygmy guys that get pretty much eaten alive wherever they show up. And it was just a blast. I mean, it's one of the things I would always recommend to people to check out if they want to see stuff that I did. I can, proudly say that was something I did and I'm happy about it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually over in the chat room where we're broadcasting live tonight, we have one of the windows showcasing a lot of your artwork as we're talking about it. So people that are joining us live on chat are actually able to see all this. But we have a question from the chat room from one of our listeners. It's from Lindsay Badger, and she says, "What was your most or least favorite project?"
So my most what?
Your most or least favorite project.
Okay, most. Well, like I say, Red Monsters Well might be up there with most.
Okay.
Either that, certain issues of The Boys, and the other one would be Battlefields that I did with Garth Ennis also, the story of the Night Witches. There's a real World War II story about these Russian bomber pilots that were all women, and it was really fascinating. We ended up doing 3 different story arcs of those, and so that would probably be my most proud comic moment is the Battlefield stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I can't really pick a least favorite one. I mean, even the ones that kind of tanked or whatever, I enjoyed doing them. I mean, very few that I had no fun with at all. So I'd only go, more and more levels higher of best,
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're kind of wrapping things up here, and we're kind of coming to a close. But what's next for Russ Braun? I mean, when you think about future projects or anything coming up that you can talk about, what's next for you, man?
Well, I can't really give details, but I'm working on another series, a mini series for DC.
Okay.
With Garth, and it's going to be based on characters from his Hitman series that he did for years. And it's, I can say it's Section 8. They're these superhero characters that used to be in Hitman. John McCrae designed all these guys, and he did the first series that they did recently of them, like a new miniseries. So I'm doing the next one, and it'll be out, I think, starting in the summer, so probably August.
Awesome.
But I'm really into it now, and it's a lot of fun. It's really crazy, goofy stuff. So
now I got to ask you a question before we let you go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I heard like papers and things like going around in the background in the beginning. Are you like working on stuff while you're talking to us?
Oh yeah. I just finished the page, and I wrapped it up right as we began talking. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Well, Russ, I want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time and just hanging out with us tonight and letting us dive into your world. I mean, I'm truly fascinated by your artwork. I look forward to your posts every day on Facebook and just to see what you can do, because I'm into that old school and just some of the things you come up with. Like the other day, you posted one about this laser eye baby thing, and it was just so freaking awesome, dude. I was like, only his mind can create such crazy looking things, but it just seems to work in some kind of weird fundamental way. But dude, I want to thank you so much. Your Facebook, everybody can check him out over there officially on Facebook. He does amazing posts of the day. And you definitely want to get in on that. Just search for Russ Braun. We got the link in the chat for you. Russ, I want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time to just hang with a couple of nerds tonight, and let's geek out about comics. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Russ.
Okay, guys. Bye.
All right, so that was Russ Braun, and Daniel, the manual, is a pretty in-depth conversation about his humble beginnings, starting up in the art school in New York, and how he got a role working at DC Comics, which was kind of like his first ever, I guess, dive into the world of comics. Yeah, which is kind of cool.
You know what? I never knew about the actual Venom drug that.
Oh yeah, that's the drug that Bane uses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was putting all that together, and that was pretty cool.
And he becomes addicted to it. Bruce Wayne becomes addicted to it.
Yeah, that's why Batman looked like he was so juiced up. I didn't realize why he looked so,
devilish.
No, I was never in to the DC series, especially not long ago. But knowing that now, it's actually really cool that he had his hands in that, and all the, when we were watching that YouTube video, it was showing so much of like his steady hand and creating these Disney-like characters. And it's like I thought that at one point he was drawing Gaston from Beauty.
He did look like Gaston. I was getting ready to say
he's got that perfect Disney like way about him, the way he can draw those characters, and it's like, wow, I'm seeing characters that that are bringing up memories from my childhood that he's drawn on the paper there. It was really cool.
And something that really impressed me about Russ too is it's easy to draw a face straight on when you're looking at it, but he draws from angles and it was so important when you're drawing comics is that you don't draw something in a flat plane straight on like this.
Yeah,
and you've got to get that.
That they're set very proportional.
Angles, man. It's all about angles and dynamics and moving things around a little bit, and it's really crazy. But it was really cool, and I hope that Russ gets to come to maybe a Comic-Con near you, Daniel, or maybe down here near me. That'd be kind of cool to touch base with him in the future. But I do want to give a shout out. We do have an open window if anybody wants to call in the last couple of minutes of PopX this week. Well, look at this. We got a caller, Mr. Selassie here, joining us. Selassie, you were curious to know a little bit about Daredevil and if PopX is going to be doing a Daredevil episode, right?
Yeah. I was wondering if you guys were doing a Daredevil episode, talking about the second season as well and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of history as well.
I could definitely, obviously, foresee in the future a definitive Daredevil review episode coming up. What do you think, Dan?
I definitely in the future. We have to remember that some of us junkies love to get our fix right away and shotgun through every episode. Day comes out and
guilty. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Somebody likes to take a nice bite and chew and swallow that filet mignon of food, of media that they give us with this.
Properly digest that delicious Daredevil goodness.
Because I'm only up to episode 4, and I'm loving taking my time because when I get to watch this, it's like special to me.
So you're saying that you will take a side of Matt Murdock, right?
Oh, definitely.
With an entree of Foggy.
Yeah. I just got to see our Elektra at the end of the one episode that I was finished with.
Oh, so you're up to what, like episode 3, 4, 5?
I think it's
that'd be episode 4, where I
told you 4.
Can't say nothing.
When they captured Frank.
All right, we're going to save that conversation for another episode. But yes, Selassie, to answer your question, we will be doing a Daredevil as soon as my buddy Dan here can get through. He's got his homework cut out for him. I feel bad for him because he's just,
We do have a couple shows already ahead of us, so we have time. I have some time to get my Daredevil in, and what I do love about Netflix is that it gives me the opportunity to watch it when I want.
And you can take a Netflix and chill time anytime you want. That's the beautiful thing about Netflix. I love it.
I'm saying Netflix and chill for you.
I'll Netflix and chill anytime with you, Dan.
No.
No, I feel like a little bromance here. Kind of feel left out.
It is a bromance between Dan and I. There is some kind of weird geeky thing going on between him and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just sheer raw passion. I don't know. I digress.
You know what? I'll let you have that one.
Okay, you do that. But Dan, next week's episode, dude, we need to talk about this before we go off the record because next week is going to be our exclusive Batman versus Superman episode.
Oh man, am I just ready for this? Right? Because
dude, look at that. There it is, baby. Dun, dun, dun. So I have actually done a really bad thing and have taken a look at some of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Say nothing, sir. Say nothing.
They are actually not giving it very good reviews at all. We're talking like a 35% splat.
Oh wow!
Now I don't know. Let me check the latest stat while we're live on the record, because I don't want, when this thing gets released later tonight, I don't want a fan coming up to me. All right, so right now, as of the night of recording, it's 10:46 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday night. Batman vs. Superman is coming in at a 33% splat on Rotten Tomatoes.
33 right now.
33.
36. I'm seeing it at 36.
All right, I'm seeing 33 on my end.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going. Yeah. All right.
So I don't know. I digress. But anyway, it's just it's one of those movies that I know that I'm going to have to go witness. I'm going to have to go see it for myself. Dan, do you have plans this weekend to go see Batman versus Superman?
Yeah, I'm going to be seeing it. I know I'm going to be seeing it definitely before the show, regardless of whether it's going to be this weekend. I mean, I like to at least go. The best time for me is after work. I go to this theater right around the corner, and I usually get the theater almost to myself, and it's great. So
that's awesome.
But I'm trying to make other plans to go see it with some people.
All right. Well, while we're sitting here on PopX, don't let none of this deter you from going to see this movie, because we know in some shape or form it's going to be epic to some degree and to some level. Will it have its quandaries and its issues? Probably. Well, but overall, will it be a good movie? Probably.
Did we see the comment in the chat here? This is allegedly. I'm not sure about the certainty of this, but it says the audience gave the movie an 82%.
That is a correct. That Zach Crawford over in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen, has said that, and that is true. On Rotten Tomatoes, there is an audience fan review of 82%. So, despite what critics say, I think the critics these days are so jaded by comic book movies that they're seeing them so many coming out. It's just like, okay, it's another superhero movie. Well, it's this, it's that,
You know what? And that's a topic that maybe we can touch on sometime. Are we getting
too much?
Are we getting saturated with all of these comic book movies? Is this starting to become something that, it's like, hey, maybe we need...
And I have to be honest with you, Daniel, it's really interesting that you say that. Lately, I do feel a little saturated in what I'm watching, because I can't keep up with The Flash, The Arrow, Gotham, Supergirl, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, all these shows that are just intertwined in comic book, DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, there's just so many. And I'm like, and The Walking Dead, throw that in the middle of that.
Right.
I just like, how in the world are we, and Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage coming out in September. So how do we keep up? I mean, it's almost as if the industry doesn't want us to have a life.
You know what? And you're right. And man,
it's a great time to be a geek.
There's a lot of things coming out too. And when are we going to see our with Star Wars, we were able to get a dominant female character like Rey.
Yeah.
And as we were told in the chats here, when are we going to get our first powerhouse female character that's going to come out? Like, when are we going to get our Miss Marvel or our Wonder Woman?
Well, Wonder Woman comes out next year.
When it's
2017. I'm pretty sure it's 2017. They've been working on it for June 23rd, 2017 is when Wonder Woman officially makes her cinematic debut. Now, Wonder Woman, as we know, she's always lived on television or in the cartoons, but has never made a live action until Dawn of Justice has made a live action debut. So Dawn of Justice will be her, and then Wonder Woman, the movie, will actually go back and tell the story of how she became the Amazonian warrior that she is. So we'll get to see all that and how that all plays out. But Slossie, you got anything for us, man?
Past that, no, not as of right now. Just
Okay.
yeah.
Cool, man. All right, well, we're going to say adieu to you. Thank you for hopping in and sharing some Daredevil knowledge with us. And so we also want to remind everybody, too, this is the last week of the contest. And go over to iTunes, leave us a comment, 5 stars, quick little sentence. We also want to let you guys know that PopX now has a hotline. Oh, yeah. So if you guys want to call in, Dan, do you know that people can call in and leave us some love?
Yeah, I think what we got here is that you just dial 850
Yep.
417 PopX.
That's it.
And for those of you who can't use the alphanumeric code on your telephone, it's just 850 417 7679.
Yes.
Simple as that. Drop us a line. Say something nice.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Ask a question.
basically, we just want to connect with you. And I do have a nerdy graphic here. I'll pull it up right quick just so everybody can see it, and I'll just let it run through the end of the show. But we want our fans of PopX to be able to connect with us in a way in which they haven't been able to do so yet. And so what we're doing is we're actually got a hotline. I don't want to say a pop line, but we kind of do. So give us a call and let us know what you're watching, what you're into. If you go see Batman versus Superman this weekend, pick it up, 850-417-POPX, and say, hey, guys, I just got out of the movie theater, and give us your review. And we will play it on next week's show. We'll have a segment just for you, the fan segment. So that's kind of cool, right, Dan?
And when you get the voicemail, it'll go, hello, and welcome to PopXcast. Press 1 to talk to me.
Oh, yes.
Connect. Joseph.
Sorry.
Anyway.
We're doing the cup thing.
Please give us a call. It would be great. We just want to hear from you guys. We really want to get some more fan interaction.
You know what we should do? We should have you record the hotline voice as Bane and just let you welcome to PopX.
Welcome. It seems as though you have reached PopXcast.
You were born in it.
You were born in it, molded by it. It's time for you to press 1, or I am going to blow up your house and city.
Press 2 to make this conversation interactive.
I don't know what that's going to do, but...
Do you want to take over Gotham with me?
Oh, my God, that is so funny, dude. But, oh, man, next week's episode is going to be the bomb. And despite what I'm seeing on the internet, and I kind of wish I hadn't dove into that. I kind of wish I would have just stayed on target. Did you like that? Oh.
Blowing my mind.
I just blowed your mind. I kind of wish I would have stayed on target and just not clicked on some of the things. Everybody's starting to post the reviews now because it's preview weekend, and then it's just, yeah. It's really disheartening because people start posting reviews of this, and somebody like me, and I know Dan as well, don't want to see this spoiler stuff. We don't want to see this before a movie comes out, But anyway,
it stinks because it takes the wind beneath your wings.
Oh, look at you!
You know, all of a sudden you're all excited about this movie, and then someone just goes, "Oh
man, you just brought a tear to my eye."
Because you are the wind beneath my wings.
I love you, Dad.
I know.
Oh, anyway, guys. Dan, how can everybody follow us on social media?
Well, it's pretty simple. You can just go to popxcast.com. We will have links there for you. We have a YouTube, popxcast@gmail.com. That is also our email.com. Just kidding. You can drop us a line there too. And obviously you can hit us up at 850-417-PopX.
Yes, that's it. We are a high-tech redneck facility here. I don't know. I guess I bring the redneck and you bring the high-tech, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Something, I don't know. Something like that.
All I know is that you can also find me, Stay on Target 42, everywhere at Stay on Target 42. Stay on Target 42 at Gmail, Instagram, all that cool stuff. I'm all around.
And if you want to write us snail mail, you can do that at 434 Lafayette Street, New York, 10018. I have no idea where that address goes to, so please do not send. No, actually, it is the Blue Man Group Theater in New York City. You think I don't know this, but anyway. So yeah, if you want to write, just let Blue Man Group know how we're doing. All right. Anyway, Dan, thank you so much for joining me. You powered through it this week. Yeah, you got your goggles on.
You got your goggles.
Oh, the introverted goggles. You're crazy. For those who are listening to the audio portion of this podcast, you guys are truly missing the epic display of Dan the Man, the Manuel Miller. But want to give it up to my buddy down here below, Mr. Mike Ippolito. Thanks, Mike, for showing your awesome slides this week. I appreciate look at that. Mr. Donald Duck himself. I love it. I love that.
Like you got hit in the head with a pot.
All right, guys. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. We'll see you next week on Batman versus Strike that. Reverse it.
Superman. We're going to get this going.
Anyway.
Next week.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next week. Episode 9. It's going to be epic. It's going to be awesome. Take care and get your geek on.
Bye.
From everyone at PopXcast, thanks for listening. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating over on iTunes and subscribe for more great content. Drop us an email, popxcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blab, and YouTube at PopXcast. Get your geek on.